We got a level? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Muckla Community Centre. I want to thank everybody, every one of you all, for coming along this morning. It's a horrible morning out there, and I know it's been difficult for some people to get here, so thank you all. I want to welcome you to the centre, and I want to welcome you to the Irish Men's Sheds Association Conference and Shed Fest. It's going to be a very exciting day where we have a great program lined up for you. I'm going to give you over shortly to the CEO, Enda Egan, who's going to tell you a little bit about the power of connection and why we're here and what we're doing. I'm going to let Seamus O'Rourke talk to you, mostly about men, really, just about men. Biddy O'Neill will be talking to you a little bit about health and men's health. It's International Men's Health Day today, so happy International Men's Health Day. We are broadcasting this conference live on YouTube and through our website at www.men'ssheds.ie, so the lads back at home and everybody can watch the conference all around the world. So we're delighted to have that. Just a special quick word of thanks, Eva Byrne, who's done a fantastic job in coordinating, and later on in the day we are going to try and set history. We're going to try and break or make a Guinness World Record for the greatest number of working kettles in one room anywhere in the world. So that's going to be coming up too. So that's going to be just before lunch, and hopefully we'll have good news on that front too. So listen, I'm sure nobody really wants to listen to me. I'll be back up again later on talking to some men about integration and sheds. And then in the afternoon there's going to be another kind of little panel discussion about grief and loss. And I know that one is something that's probably close to everybody's heart. It's been a tough time, I suppose, over the last few years in sheds, as well as just for everybody since COVID. But that's what we have a few other little sort of treats in between. There's music, there's health checks going on outside. I can see some of you men have a red bib on you, so you'll be waiting to find out that you're healthy and that you're going to get another few years out of it yet. So listen, without too much ado, I am going to hand you over to Enda Egan, CEO of the Irish Men's Sheds Association. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. And as Ben has said, look, you're all very welcome here this morning to the community centre in Muckla, Tullamore in Cunda Uvalia. Unfortunately, we can't control the weather, but I guess it's the time of the year, and that's what one can expect. You may have known for your programme that we had Marty Morrissey booked in today to do the MC. Marty is somewhere stuck on the side of the road doing interviews with RTE as a result of Brian Fenton, the Dublin footballer, deciding to retire today on International Men's Day. So that's Brian gone off at the old Christmas card list for this year anyway. So Marty will turn up somewhere along this morning. I believe he's live at the minute on the Claire Byrne show. So we will welcome Marty when he comes along. Today, as Ben has said, it is a very special day. It's International Men's Day. It's a day where all over the world we celebrate men and we celebrate the positive male role models in our society. And I suppose the men's shed is like your local community factory for producing male role models in our society, and we'll talk about that a little bit further on. I suppose just to make it interesting, we decided to do a Guinness World Record attempt for putting the most amount of kettles in the one place, and we will need to thank our friends in Flowgas for their great support. And at the start of each year, we sit down with Flowgas and we look at what things that they might be able to help us with throughout the year. And one of the things we were saying was, look, it's just on the back of COVID, we still have more men that we need to get back into sheds. We need to get membership up in sheds. And we were just throwing around a few ideas as to how that might work. And I was saying to them, well, look, you know, men love their tools. We're talking about the DeWalts, we're talking about the Milwaukees, and we're talking about the Makeses. But the most important tool in the shed is the kettle. And Flowgas said, well, do you know what? Why don't we buy a kettle for every shed in the audience? That's 550 sheds when you include the sheds in Northern Ireland. Oh, we said that's a great idea. And then some other bright spark said, why don't we try and put the most amount of kettles and see in the one place and see if we can actually do a Guinness World Record? And the person that came up with that idea is Barbara Elliott. So all I'll say to you, Barbara, is you can run, but you can't hide. I will find you. Because this is one of those things where you say, lads, this is a mighty idea, and then it turns into an absolute monster. And there's a huge amount of work that's gone into it. I need to absolutely, unequivocally express my thanks to every single shed, and particularly to our volunteers out there who drove up and down the length and breadth of the country last week. When we had our Flowgas kettles, we had another 550, I think, to get, and our guys and our volunteers on the ground drove everywhere, collected kettles in schools, parish halls, community centres, sports clubs. There's guys going to be turning up to play 25 or 45 tonight in community halls, and they won't have their kettles because we're going to have them here. So look, thanks to everybody for the huge effort that it has been. Thanks to all the staff and the volunteers that were here over the weekend putting all the kettles in place. Thanks to all the staff that were at home at the weekend working on other parts of this project. It couldn't be done. We couldn't actually do it without everybody working together as a team, and I really want to reiterate that and send out real appreciation from myself and from the board of the organisation for the work that's gone in to putting all these kettles in place. Right now we have the international Guinness World Record adjudicator that flew in from Turkey last night. She's out there in the shed counting the kettles. I'm not joking you, they have been counted about 25,000 times already. If there's a kettle missing, there will be mayhem. Some calculator somewhere will be defaulting. So look, that's brilliant. And the reality is that project and the support from Flowgas gives us the opportunity to showcase what the men's shed is about. And our team today is around the power of connection. And connection is a real simple thing in many ways. And I'll come back to that in a little minute. But imagine if we could take those 550 kettles that's going out this evening to new homes, new sheds all over the country, and if we could put a little listening device attached to those sheds and record the stories and record all the new connections, the new friendships that's going to be driven off of those kettles over the next number of years. I mean, it would be an amazing project to do. There'll be thousands of stories, there'll be thousands of friendships that will be recreated, that will be captured. That's not a pill. That's not a medication that comes off a production line from Pfizer. It's not a medication that comes off a production line from some of our huge big pharma companies around the world, like AstraZeneca or Pfizer. This is a little thing that's happening in each community, in each shed. If I just take a little minute to share with you some statistics, and they're not statistics that's very positive, but they're about men, and they're about men's health, and they're about the kind of things that affect men in society, and the real factual stuffs. 500 suicides in Ireland a year, 80% of those are men. That's a shocking statistic for any nation to stand over. That's 3 in every 4 out of that are men. I have loads of stories. I could speak here all day today about the stories where men genuinely feel that the shed has helped them and has moved them away from that really dark place. I could also talk about real stories where unfortunately men sitting probably here today and looking in today have, experienced suicide in their family, and how the shed has been a really important part of rebuilding their lives and rebuilding that connection for them back with community and back with self. Almost 4,000 prostate cancer diagnoses per year in this country. Something that every man obviously is in the back of your mind when you get past a certain age. We dealt with that issue last year at our conference last year. The number one message was, and I'll say it here again today, make sure you get your PSA levels checked. And if there's one little thing you can take away today, it is head off to your doctor, get that done. I got it done last year as a result of being at the conference. I got it done again only a few weeks ago, and it's really important that we do that. A higher than average heart disease rate in this country. 16% of men between the age of 55 and 75 who pass away as a result of heart disease. So these are the kind of issues that affect men and affects men's health. But there's a really, really important thing that we can talk about today, and that is the power of connection, and how important the power of connection is within each individual shed. And they're simple things. They are simple little things that connect people together. It's the throwing up of the lawnmower engine on the bench, and a few guys get around it to fix it. Never maybe met before, and suddenly half an hour later they're talking about things they never spoke about before. It's the guys going out in the spilling rain in around Patrick's Day because they want to be the first guys to get the spuds in the ground, because they want to have them up growing before the shed down in Killarney or somewhere in Cork where the weather's mild, or North Dublin where the spuds come up quicker than anywhere else. But the guys maybe in Tullamore, the guys in Kilbeggan, or the guys in Portlaoise, they want to get them in quicker because they reckon they'll get them up faster. But while that whole little act is going on, there is huge connection taking place. It's the guys coming in and putting together the park bench and working on that, and it comes in as, so many lengths of 9x2. It goes out as this lovely bench that people will sit on. The connection that takes place while that bench has been made, the connection that takes place between the community organisations coming in, asking the shed, because the shed is such a connector. It's not just connecting men, it connects and it enables the community in which that shed is actually positioned. And then the guys come along and they sit on that bench. And we will be all familiar with the Yellow Bench project. Many sheds here are involved in that. And that's a project we run with the Cancer Society. So there's old benches in every town. The shed takes in the bench, they redo it, they repurpose it, they paint it yellow, a QR code goes on it, our logo goes on it, Irish Cancer Society logo goes on it, and that is placed somewhere around the town, around the local community, and people can sit on that bench and they can reflect as to the pondering of life, I suppose, and the people maybe in their family who have passed away as a result of cancer. And it may help them to just look at that QR code and say, do you know what? This is going to give me the motivation to go down to my doctor and just get bloods done and check things out and make sure it's okay. Because as we all know, timing is so important when it comes to all the main health conditions that we face as a society. Getting on top of them quickly. So the power of connection is a very simplistic thing. It happens all the time in all the sheds, and it is amazing what happens. It is very difficult sometimes to actually pinpoint why the shed works, but what we know is that it does work. And there's that magical dust that happens in the shed. If we could bottle it and we could sell it around the world, well, you know what? The Pfizers and the AstraZenecas, they'd be after it to test it to see if they could manufacture it, because it is so unique. It is so unique and it is so simple. But sometimes the simplicity of it can be its enemy, because sometimes people like to have the thing in the bottle, have the medication, know that it's been researched, know that it kind of works. But the simplicity of what happens in the shed is one of those things that we can see in this country has become contagious, and contagious in a very good, very positive way. So we have more sheds in this country, in Ireland, per head of population than any other country in the world. That just hasn't happened for no reason. It's happened because it's meeting a need in our society. It is meeting a need in our society. And people keep coming back to the shed. So if you do your shopping at the weekend and you do it in Lidl, or you do it in Tesco, or you do it in Dunnes Stores, you're doing it because there is something there that keeps bringing you back. It's the price, it's the quality, it's the brand. The shed is the same thing. It is providing something unique that men in our society need. And whether that's the man who is retiring, we had a stand down at the plough match this year, and it was one of the most interesting little pieces of anecdotal research that you could do. And the amount of men that come in, farmers predominantly, and they sit down and they say, do you know what? And one guy in particular, and he said to me, I'm retiring, I'm giving the farm over to the nephew, not sure if it's the right thing to do or not. And I said, why not? And he said, oh, what am I going to do? All there is in my house, he said, he was a bachelor, all there is in my house every morning is me, the dog, the toast, and the marmalade. He said, that's my life. And then I go out and I do the cattle, and he was a dry stock farmer with some sheep in the bottom end of County Kilkenny. And he, I believe, has connected with the shed there. But his point to me was, he was 64, and he said, sure, I'm too young. I'm too young. That was the perception. And that was the perception of an awful lot of guys coming in, felt they were too young. So there's a huge piece of work that we have to do as an organisation to ensure that people understand that you're not too young. Anybody, there's people in sheds around the country from 18 years of age up to 103. We were hoping today that our gentleman, 103 years of age in the shed in Dublin, would be here to accept the award. Hopefully that we will get it from the Guinness World Record attempt. Unfortunately, he can't make it today. But he's the oldest man in the shed at 103 years of age. Had a birthday party for him in the shed in Ballyrun in Dublin only back in September. So the shed is a really, really powerful thing. And it's in every community, and it's right around the world. As people know, it started in Australia, but it has met a real need in this country, and that's why it has taken off, and that's why we're having a go out there today at putting the most amount of kettles in place, because we have the men on the ground to do it. And that project is going to move around the world, and the guys in Australia next year are probably going to have a go at putting more kettles together than we have, and maybe then it'll go to England, and maybe then it'll be going to Canada. All I can say to them is, Barbara Elliott is down the back. She's happy to go to Australia or Canada or anywhere with the idea and help them out, and Eva Byrne won't be far behind her. So you probably have heard enough from me today, but there's a few things I suppose it would be remiss of me to stand up here and probably not talk about the money. As we know, and today isn't the day for making any kind of political swipes or so forth. But we have 200 men here, and we have probably got some another 700 if last year's on to go by looking in. And I think we know that the Men's Shed grant is looking like it's not going to be the level of funding that it was last year. Barack Obama, I think, has said one time, money's not everything, but it's important. And far be it from me to improve on a quotation from the 44th President, but I'm going to give it a go. Money is not necessarily the most important thing, but by God, when you're running a shed, it is pretty up there. And the funding that we have been getting had made such a huge difference, and it helped to foster and to make that power of connection sustainable. And we all need to, over the next couple of weeks, and all the materials on our website, we need to get out there, and we need to ensure that the next government that comes in understands the importance of this, and that the simplicity of this issue is not taken for granted, and that it is understood. Because we're not Pfizer, and because we're not AstraZeneca, and because we don't have this in a bottle, that doesn't mean that it does not require investment. And I'm going to finish up by repeating what I started off with, which is that today is a very important day. Today is a very special day. It's International Men's Day. And I have found in my 3 years in this organisation some of the most amazing men in sheds, some of the most amazing role models in this shed. So I'm going to ask, before I finish, and the same to everybody in a shed out there that's looking in, please stand up and give yourself a huge round of applause for International Men's Shed Day.
Enda, thanks very much.